It's getting even worse for Doctor Who. The latest episode posted the worst overnight ratings for the entire season. It also featured the return of the transgender character Jason Noble, a man who claims to be a woman named Rose. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com this morning, and this information comes to us courtesy of Doctor Who TV. The outlet reports The Legend of Ruby Sunday only brought in 2.02 million viewers overnight in the United Kingdom. As I noted, this episode saw the return of male actor who calls himself Yasmin Finney. He believes he is a woman, and he plays a so-called transgender character, Jason Noble, who now uses the name Rose. The poor ratings come in the wake of the show's fifth episode, Dot and Bubble, having the worst ratings of the entire season after a full week across all devices with just 3.38 million. So it had overnight viewership of 2.12 million, but its week, first 7 days, all devices was just 3.38 million. That is the last episode that we have with a full week of data from Doctor Who TV. The sixth episode, Rogue, had overnight ratings of 2.11 million. That was obviously worse than Dot and Bubble, but we do not have the weekly ratings for that episode yet. So it might actually be worse than Dot and Bubble based on the overnights. But we have also seen some overnight episodes like this one, Boom, which was the third episode. It had the worst overnights of 2.04, but it eventually brought in 3.58 million over that first week, those first 7 days after it aired. But you can see ratings are going down across the board. Worst overnight ratings now, and we're seeing weekly ratings decline as well. People are tuning out slowly but surely after a massive tune out from the Christmas special, which I think had like 4 million or something like that overnight. And then the first episode barely got over 2 million. As for why these ratings are trash, it's because the show is terrible. Science fiction novelist John Della Rose, he reacted to the poor ratings in his own coverage of it, and he said this: "It was just a nonsensical, boring episode like usual. There was no drama, no reason to care about anything that's going on. They're trying to hype up this mystery of Ruby Sunday as something that like you should care about, but they failed to do so because they failed to make you connect with the character whatsoever. They were busy having this gay black doctor prance around and do musical numbers rather than actually give you any reason to care, and fans tuned out." Indeed, they did. As they should. The show is absolutely terrible. Talked about this on a number of occasions. The only reason why this show exists is because it is to push gay and transgender propaganda on the British populace, as well as the people here in North America, in the United States, and Canada that subscribe to Disney Plus. Fortunately, it does seem that the Doctor Who just isn't as popular here in the United States, so no one is really watching it on Disney Plus at all. It has not ever gotten into the Nielsen ratings whatsoever. So probably a good thing that the propaganda is not as effective here in the United States as it is in the UK. Clearly more people watching this propaganda in the UK than in the United States, despite having a significantly lower total population. You guys need to work on that over there in the UK. I'll be praying for you so that you can excise this disease, this spiritual affliction from your country. But let's talk about Russell T Davies. He did indeed say recently that he thinks that the show might be scrapped, or hinted that the show might be scrapped. He tried to spin the show's absolutely atrocious ratings, telling the Radio Times, "I'm very proud of it. You know, they might not be the ratings we'd love. We always want higher, but they are building over the 28-day period. Episode 1, Space Babies, is already up to 5.6 million and counting, so it is getting there." He then touted how the show is allegedly reaching younger audiences with its blatant woke propaganda. He says, "I was brought back in to bring in a youthful audience. That's been massively successful." I think he's completely lying on this account, given the fact that we see that the viewership numbers are atrocious. People have completely tuned out from this show. Nevertheless, he goes on and says, the audience no one ever gets are the under 30s. They just don't watch television anymore. But those figures are astronomical for Doctor Who. It's their top program in that bracket. Again, I think they're playing with percentages here because obviously the total viewership is absolutely atrocious. So maybe they have a higher percentage in people under 30, but it's still probably the total number is probably a lot lower, just because there's not many people watching the show in the first place. And we want to get that number lower. I think we can get that number lower. The more people not watching this propaganda, the better. So they're not having their minds exposed to this degenerate, evil ideology that Russell T Davies and the ilk at the BBC and Disney Plus are trying to push. He also told the Radio Times that he thinks that the show's future is still up in the air. And that's following the second season. So they don't know if they're going to renew it for a third or fourth season. He said that he was already working on a third season and already had plans for a fourth season. But now he's saying that it's up in the air. So that indicates that these really bad ratings might actually end up seeing the show scrapped. And that would be for the best. We've also seen Ncuti Gatwa basically tell people not to watch the show if they were not a fan of his casting. Clearly, that does indeed seem to be the case because this is what he told Variety. Don't watch. Turn off the TV. Go and touch grass, please, for God's sake. And people have accepted his challenge, taken his advice, and they are not watching anymore. That seems to be the case anytime someone says this. Obviously, we saw this with Kelly Sue DeConnick. If you've been following any comic book news in the past half decade or so, she basically was like, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my books. And the comic book industry has completely collapsed. Sales are absolutely atrocious across the board. We also had this from drag queen Jink X Monsoon. Played a villain in one of the earlier episodes in the season. And he told Slate this: to the people who have issues, the show that you love was created by a queer person. Get over it. A lot of people are going to really love this, and I think this season is going to create a lot of new Doctor Who fans. And if we lose some of the transphobic ones, don't let the door hit you on the way out. There's a lot of toxicity around the gender and the trans conversation. In the 70s, it was the conversation of queerness, the gay conversation. We overcame it once and will overcome it again. To the people who are upset about it, boo-hoo, cry your effing tears. It's not your world exclusively. We all live here, so get over yourself. So confirming that the slippery slope does indeed exist, pointing to the fact that they were able to push queerness and the gay agenda in the 70s, and now they're pushing the trans agenda and how it's all connected. This person confirming that. Nevertheless, he goes on and says, I know a lot of people might not even watch this season of Doctor Who because it's taking such a decisively queer step. However, if they watch it, I think they'll see that we're just actors playing characters. And if they don't watch it, then who needs them? I truly believe that for every fan we lose to transphobia, we're going to have 2 or 3 more coming in because they're excited for trans representation. Clearly, that is not the case as the ratings continue to decline. And surprise, people are not interested in the fantasies and the lies of these people who are living delusions. And not only are they living delusions, they're trying to push their delusions onto the viewing audience through the vehicle that is Doctor Who. This person is confirming that. Russell T Davies has said it in a number of interviews as well. And people are rejecting it. And that is a good thing. It is a cause to celebrate that people are not taking in this propaganda. Now, I hope instead of this, they are maybe reading their Bible, doing some spiritual readings, becoming closer to God, and uplifting themselves and becoming better people, better Christians. But let me know what you guys make of the absolutely atrocious ratings here, worst overnight ratings of the entire season for Doctor Who. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.